Hi everyone, it's Lynn Dion from Pink Whisper Designs. Today I thought it'd be fun to mix and match some of our stamp sets, and I'll talk about those a little bit more as we go along. But for today we're going to create this really fun and whimsical fall autumn card. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with this set. This is a brand new set called Santa's Workshop, and it obviously was pretty much designed for Christmas, but we're going to grab all the little elves from this set and create an autumn card. Let's go ahead and grab all those little elves and we'll stamp those. I'm using the Versafine Onyx black ink pad. I've got some Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock in my mini MISTI stamp positioner, and I'm just pressing that out with the Stampendable stamp press. For colors, I'm using the Sugared Almond Pink on the cheeks and the Flesh color on the skin. And I'll do all of these little faces the exact same way. And these are the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, and I've grabbed a bundle of these. I will list and link all of these down below for you, and that's how I colored in all 5 of those elves. I'm only going to show you one on camera because it did take a little while to color those in, and I don't want to take up too much time, but I did want to show you how I colored one in. So I'm starting off with the red grape, and I'm going to do the little jacket, and then I'll use my Zig blender pen to do all my blending. And I will let you know that I've been working on another card with these little elves for Christmas, and it's going to be the letters to Santa. And I'm doing it as an accordion card, so it'll be like a 3-part accordion card. And I'm doing it with like a postal theme, so I think you'll really like that. So keep an eye out. You may want to hit that notification bell or subscribe so that you can be sure to get those updates when they come out. So I'm going to continue coloring this little guy in. I'm just using beige and mid-brown to do the boots and the mittens. And then I'm using yellow and beige for the hair. I like to add a little touch of beige just to soften that yellow a little bit. And then I'm switching over to the dark gray for the pants and for the little collar on his shirt. And then I'll go back to that red grape and the deep red grape to do the hat. So for the jacket I just used the red grape. Well, for the hat I wanted to add a little bit more depth, so I'm grabbing that deep red grape as well. And I'll just add a little bit more shadowing sort of towards the back side of the hat and pull it forward. So now that we have all of those colored in, I'm going to add some interest to these, as I mentioned, with the gel pens. I've got red, blue, white, and black, and I'm just going to add some interest to these. And when you do the color, like the blue on blue, get this really interesting look. It gives it a little bit of a shine. It adds a lot of texture to that fabric look that we're going for on the jacket and the hat. Now for this one I started with just stripes, and then I decided to create a plaid. So I'm just going in one direction and then I'm switching over to the other direction. And then I added that to her little button, and for this little girl I thought I would use the white gel pen and add some little polka dots, and then I'm going to use that white gel pen to do highlights on all of these little elves. Now with the black I'll do this little guy. I just did some stripes on the hat, and back to that white gel pen for some highlights. And for this one I used the red. To color this little guy in, I used scarlet red and orange. So I thought the red would just give us a little bit more interest. And then I'm going back to the polka dots again, but I'm going to do the blue on blue for this one. And I'll add a few stripes to the hat. And I decided to add some stripes to the pants as well, just for a little bit more of a whimsical look. Now in the end, not all of these elves actually are going to show completely, so you may want to determine that before you color them all in. At this point I wasn't exactly sure what the card was going to look like finished, and when we cut out the little tree cubby, you'll notice that there's little doors and windows that get cut out, so I tucked some of these in those little openings, so not all of them show. But I colored them all in, and this set comes with the coordinating dies. So I'm going to tape those down with some Post-it tape and run those through my Spellbinder Scout die cutting machine. And so I did the rest of those off camera, and you can see how cute these are. So let's set those aside, and now we'll go to the Woodland Tree Cubby set. We're going to just use that tree. And you can see that this set comes with leaves that you can add to that tree. We're not going to be stamping those leaves because we're going to grab some fall leaves from another set. So again, we're just kind of mixing and matching and creating the design that we want to go for. So I did some more stamping, and I'm going back to those same combination of colors. I will list here the colors again in the top as we're going along. I've got aquamarine blue and Persian green to color in this little tree house. I'll use that Persian green to do a little bit of shadowing. I'm going to use blue, green, and that red grape to do the doors and give it a whimsical look. You could certainly just do this all in your browns and grays just to keep it very woodsy looking, but I thought I would bring in all of those colors that we already used to color in the little elves. And of course the tree will be in more beigey tones, and then we'll have that bright pop of color from all of those leaves. And we're going to be grabbing some little clusters of leaves from the Spooky Wagon set, and we're going to grab some pumpkins. So again, that's more of a fall Halloween set, so we're going to be grabbing a bunch of items from there. So we're customizing the tree again to kind of fit our fall theme, and customizing our little elves to be more fall looking rather than Christmas elves. So this is fun. I love just going through all my stamp sets, kind of mixing and matching everything. It's just so much fun, and it stretches out the use of your stamps and dies. I really find that, it is an investment, and I like to make sure that I can use these sets in several different ways. And what, again, is fun about these little cubby sets, and there are quite a few cubbies in the collection, they cut out all the little pieces. So the windows will get cut out, the doors will pop open, which is a really great place to, put your little critters in there, or your little elves, or I even thought little ghosts coming out of this would be adorable. And I'll show you those. Those also come in the Spooky Wagon set, so I almost did that instead. You could have the little ghosts kind of coming out of the little doors and windows and flying around. So you have a lot of options. Again, just kind of go through your sets and see what you can come up with. It's really fun to do. Now, I'm adding some of those brighter colors, but for the entire tree it will be beige and mid-brown, and I'll just add some shadows with that mid-brown. I also want to let you know that this little Santa's Workshop set is currently included in a bundle that just came out. It's called the Christmas Train Bundle Set, and you get 5 different pieces in that set. You get the Santa's Workshop with the little elves that we're using today. There's a Christmas train that is just absolutely adorable. Again, I'll be having a card coming out with that train shortly. And it's got all the pieces you need to create a nice long train. It's got the little cars. There's even an empty car so you can fill it with whatever you want. One has a Santa, there's presents. It's a really fun set. It's quite large, so I did create a slimline card with that. So I'll have that out shortly so you can look at that. There's the Santa puppet die set, which you can create. It's just dies, and you can create the most adorable little Santa, and again I'll be doing a card with that as well. And then there's the classic Christmas paper pack, and there's the classic Christmas cover paper pack, which is I believe it's 5x7 for the cover paper, and the regular Christmas paper pack is a 6x6 pack. And there's some beautiful Christmas papers in there, lots of reds, greens, browns. It's just kind of vintagey looking. It's really, really special. A lot of fun things in there, and I know that bundle is currently 15% off if you buy the entire, 16% off if you buy the entire bundle. And I do believe that the little Santa Elves, the Santa Workshop set, is 15% off right now. So I'm not sure how long that's lasting, but right now in the catalog, those are the discounts. So it's, a nice price point, and I do love that these sets come with the dies now. it makes it so much easier to do your stamping, coloring, and die cutting. So let's continue this. I'm almost done. I'm just going to do that little fence around that little porch, and I'm using light gray and dark gray. And then for those little overhangs on the little awnings on the tree, I'll be switching over to that blossom pink, just for, again, just kind of bringing in all the different colors that we've used today. And I'll also use a little bit of beige on the post for those awnings. So this is fun just to sit and color. And I would have done all the stamping and die cutting right up front, but again, I wasn't exactly sure which direction this card was going to take when I got started. So what I like to do is just start with what I know I want to use, which was the little elves. And I knew I wanted the theme to be an autumn fall theme, so I started there, and then I kind of worked my way towards, oh, this cubby would be perfect for my little elves to be coming out of, popping out of. So that's kind of the direction it took. And then I decided to add some pumpkins and fall leaves to this. So here's the die, and it's quite large. I'm going to go ahead and tape that down really well with some post-it tape, just to make sure that doesn't move on me. And then it does fit in my little Scout machine, which I really love. And we'll run that through quickly. And let me show you, these little doors pop open, and all those little windows got cut out as well. And there's some little extra open areas. Even this little detail off to the right here, I'm going to use my pick tool and just kind of poke that out. So that's what our little cubby looks like. Now here's where I decided to go to the Ride series. This is the Spooky Wagon set, so it's kind of a fall Halloween set. I'm going to use that little signpost, those pumpkins, and those little clusters of leaves. But as I mentioned earlier, it'd be fun to use those little ghosts coming out of this little tree cubby as well. I've got the little signpost, and what I did was I masked off the word boo with some post-it tape. So I just cut it small enough to fit right inside the opening of that post. I'm going to mask that off while I ink it up, and then I'll just remove that masking. You do want to make sure you remember to do that, otherwise you'll get that big black blob right in the center of your signpost. So just make sure you remove the post-it tape, and then we can go ahead and stamp that. And then I went to this set. This is the brand new Foxes set, and that little sentiment says Autumn Greetings. So I just grabbed the word autumn and stamped it right inside that signpost. So it's a really nice and easy way to change up some of your sentiments. So I went ahead and also die cut that. And off camera, I stamped a whole bunch of those clusters of leaves that, again, we're going to place on our tree. And then I stamped 4 of the pumpkins, 2 of the large and 2 of the smaller ones. And to color these in, I'll use the scarlet red, the yellow, and then once I colored this, I thought it was a little bit bright, so I did come in and add a little bit of beige. So I'm keeping the center of each of the pumpkins the lightest. And here's where I grab that beige, and I'm just going to go right around the edges a little bit and just give it a little bit more of a muted look. And then I've got olive green and beige for the stems. So I did the rest of those pumpkins off camera, and then for the leaves, quickly I just grabbed the whole bunch of colors that I showed you earlier and the colors that we used on the elves and in the tree, and I just combined all of those and just started coloring in the leaves in random greens, oranges, yellows, dark greens, olive green, and I think a little bit of beige. So I had some fun coloring these in. And I think altogether on the card I used 11 or 12 of these little clusters of leaves. So I grabbed the coordinating dies. Let's go ahead and run those through. And quickly going back to this little signpost, I did color it in using the beige and mid-brown. And I kept the center kind of the lightest. So this is a fun way to change up your little posts. I love these little posts, but sometimes they don't always say what I want them to. So we're making a square card. This measures 5.5 by 11 inches. I'm going to score it at 5.5 inches. So we've got a top folding card. And then I cut a piece of Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock to 5.25 inches by 5.25 inches. And then we're going to ink that up for our sky. I'm using a couple of different just distress ink pads. These are the mini ink pads in Peacock Feathers and Tumbled Glass. And I'm going to do this really quickly. Since I had spent a lot of time on the coloring, I wanted to make my background really simple and quick. So I'm using my Distress Sprayer. I've added those inks directly to my glass media mat. I spritz them with plenty of water, and then I'm just going to lay this panel right down in there. And that will give me some light and dark areas, and it will look just like clouds when we're done. You'll see it a little bit better as it dries. I'm going to set that aside to dry. I'm just going to clean off that glass mat because we're going to do a little panel for the grass. So I've got another piece of Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock that measures 5.25 by about 1.25 inches. And I'm going to tear that. I'm going in a back and forth direction to tear that so I get that nice ruffled edge at the top. And then I'll grab a couple of greens from my Distress inks. And I'm going to use Twisted Citron and Mowed Lawn. Again, I'll just lay those down on my glass media mat, just smushing them right down onto the glass, and then adding some water, and then we'll just lay this panel right on top. Now for this one, you will see that that ruffled edge doesn't necessarily grab the ink right away, so you can just kind of push it back down into that ink, and you can even use your finger just to spread that out a little bit better. If you feel like you have a little bit too much, I just came in with a dry paper towel and just patted up a little bit of that excess, and then I can let that dry as well. So now that these are dry, you can see how pretty this background is going to be. I've added some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to the back of this, and I've glued it down to my card. And you do want to let this dry. I did put something heavy on top of this once I had those two panels glued together and let that dry completely, so it would be nice and flat. Now we've got all these little clusters of leaves. Let's go ahead and replace those with those leaves that came with the set. This will give our tree a really nice fall look. We've got all these pretty fall autumn colors. And then I'm going to save a few to tuck in behind. After we've placed these on, I'm going to keep a few leaves to tuck in behind once we place this down onto our card. And then I will keep two sets for around the pumpkins that will be at the bottom of the card as well. So that looks pretty good for now. Let's go ahead and just kind of figure out where a few things are going to go and grab our little elves. Now what I did decide to do was pop up the tree, but first I want to place a few of these elves in the tree. So I'm going to put this little guy with the orange outfit on, sitting kind of up on top of that little deck or platform. And I'm kind of tucking him in behind the leaves a little bit. And then for this one, I'm going to place it behind one of those windows, or behind this little door in the center, I should say. So I glued him down, and when I went to glue this one in place, kind of coming out the door, I realized the other one's little feet were hanging down. So I'm just going to cut that away. So here you can see where you don't necessarily need all of these elves. For that one behind that little door in the center, I could have just colored in basically the face and the hat. So let's tuck this guy in behind this door. And then I'm going to grab the scrapbook.com small 3D foam squares. And I'm going to put a couple behind the door at the top. I don't want this one to flap open. Just going to cover his legs there a little bit. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this one. So we'll just kind of close that up. But it'll still have some dimension because it'll still be popped up. That center one I'll leave so that it opens and closes. And then I'll add these little foam squares all around the back of this tree. I'm using my Cricut weeding tool to pop off all those little backings, and then we'll center this on the card. Here's where I have a few extra leaves, and I'm going to tuck one right in here on the left-hand side. And then I'll save those other two for underneath our pumpkins. So let's pop off the backing on the pumpkins. I did pop those up as well. And then I had this little elf, and I thought he would be really cute sitting right in front of the tree. We'll take that other larger pumpkin and put it off to the right-hand side. I'm going to glue that one flat, and then we'll pop up this little girl with a couple more of those foam squares. And then for that little post, the autumn post, I decided to add that last pumpkin right in behind these other two and have that post look like it was coming out from the center of those. And I'll go ahead and glue that flat. And then here are the last two little pieces. These are the little leaf clusters. I'm going to place one under those pumpkins there. And then I was trying to decide if I wanted that last set up in the trees, but I did decide to place it down here underneath this pumpkin on the right-hand side. For a finishing touch, I've got my Wink of Stella clear glitter pen. I'm going to add clear glitter to the doors. And I do want to clean it off in between because remember those zig markers are a water-based pen, so I don't want to transfer that color to the other doors. So I'll just clean it off in between, and to do that you just scribble it onto some scrap paper. So here's a closer look at our cute little cubby, our little fall card, and again a great way to mix and match your sets. So have some fun, take a look through all your sets. We've got that pretty sky with the clouds in the background. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you all have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.